Why are all new heroes overpowered? Or are they really? Well, that's what I decided to find out today. With the new release of the hero Sierra, I heard a lot of people complaining that, oh, she has aimbot, it's overpowered, but is it really? Well, for starters, she's a projectile hero and her bullets feel similar to Ramatra's in speed. So most of the time, if a target is around 20 meters away and strafing you well, you'll probably have a hard time hitting them at least consistently. That's where her tracking shot comes in. If you hit this shot, Sierra gains aim lock on that stuck target, similar to Soldier's Visor ultimate. However, she cannot headshot in this mode, even trying to force it. Meaning, it's only really useful for people like Freya, Pharah, Jetpack Cat, and other fast-moving small targets like Baby D.Va that would be extremely hard to hit with her normal rounds. Along with this, it doesn't go around walls, meaning that if you treat it like Zen's Discord Orb and just back behind a wall, you'll be fine. She also has a grenade that, if anything, does too little damage, but at least it gets good ult charge on hit. First, let's talk about why this character is weak in my opinion. For one, she has very little movement. While the drone is very good for getting height, I found that it has very poor horizontal movement, meaning if you're not near high ground, you're toast. Secondly, she only has 250 health, making her as squishy as Genji, but with none of the movement abilities to help her stay alive. However, her major perk that gives her a medkit on her drone does remedy this a little bit by allowing her to have at least a little bit of sustain. Third, her damage output at range is fairly low. If you can't hit her tracking shot, you'll have a hard time hitting anything moving, which I feel like will fade as people get better at hitting the secondary. And lastly, as I mentioned, her grenade is a bit on the weak side and has some odd behavior, but overall I feel that it's balanced. Just a bit underwhelming, which is better than overpowered in my opinion. Now, is she still OP? Kind of. Her ultimate is ridiculously OP right now, and that's just from a damage point of view. Well, what is her ult, you might ask? It's a drone that she sends out that does a strafing run, dropping bombs in 3 lines. This can be angled upwards to spread out further and angled downwards to spread closer, with being able to be put up against a wall to drop all of the bombs in one spot. And that's where the overpowered part lies. If someone, and I mean anyone in the game, is near a wall, you shoot this near them and they are eviscerated. How do you combat this? Well, there's kind of no way at the moment aside from just killing her before she reaches you or avoiding it, which killing her is fairly easy unless she manages to get a good flank and wipe your whole team with one ult. Yeah, that can happen. And sure, you could make the argument that D.Va Bomb can do the same, however I think this is a bit more OP as the bombs explode rather fast and are fairly hard to dodge. Ever tried dodging a hazard ult? Yeah, it's like that, but if you don't, it just insta-kills you. Now, how can the devs fix this? Well, through testing, I found that both she can one-shot any tank fairly easily, and also the drone cannot be broken while it's flying. I suggest it go a bit slower and can be shot. This way, it has some sort of counterplay around it. Another thing I'd like is if the drone broke when hitting a wall. It would be more beneficial for her to keep her distance and get rid of that wall one-shot issue. Now, would I consider her OP? No, not at all. She has a very balanced kit aside from that, and most of her issues can be fixed with simple tweaks. But why do people think she's OP if she objectively isn't? Well, it comes down to the fact that people who are coming back for the season are probably already a little rusty, and on top of that, a new character can feel extra good when you're already getting destroyed by everyone else. In my first few games against her, I didn't realize you can negate her shot like a Discord Orb. So yeah, I was kind of thinking she was a little OP, but with a little learning I found that she's actually pretty balanced. Saying her tracking dart is OP is like saying Zen's Discord Orb is OP as you're standing in front of him letting him kill you. And while her ult is objectively OP at the moment, I feel like once people get used to her a bit and get used to dodging and avoiding enclosed spaces when she's on the enemy team, she might even end up feeling pretty weak, honestly. What about the other new characters like the ones last season? We'll get to that. Real quick, if you are enjoying, make sure to like and subscribe. I'm getting closer and closer to that 1,000 mark and only 1% of you guys are subscribed. So subbing would help out a ton. I also go live on Twitch almost every day and have a community Discord. If you're interested in either, both are in the description. Now back to the video. The other characters, right? They were busted on release, right? Well, some of them were. Let's talk about last season's releases, that being Domina, Emre, Anran, Mizuki, and Jetpack Cat. Let's start with Domina. She's OP. From day one until present, she's been OP, right? Well, for starters, her primary fire, beam and burst, can almost one-shot a squishy. When you pair this with her crystal, you can wipe out squishies pretty consistently. Along with that, her boop stuns. These can be extremely annoying for any dive tank or dive DPS. But against brawl tanks, she kinda sucks. And while she's really good against squishies and dives, even OP against them, she struggles immensely against a Ramatra or a Mauga. However, her shield is still OP, right? I mean, come on, it has 27 segments, all with the health of a squishy. Well, not really. Put her up against a Sojourn or a Pharah, and suddenly all of the segments are gone. Same goes for Winston's gun, and even Bastion melts it. So while she can be quote unquote OP as a wrecking ball, against a Winston or Ramatra, she's useless and squishy. However, there's one bug that made her OP on release. Domina first came out, she healed based on any ability damage done. So say she shot her crystal at a shield, she's full health for the entire duration of the crystal. Luckily this got fixed, but she still restores shield based on ability damage dealt to heroes, which is still pretty busted, but it's in the same vein as Symmetra charging up over time. Take her out fast enough and you have nothing to worry about. Along with this, she has no movement at all, so she's pretty easy to single out from her team. So is Domina OP? No. Was she when she was bugged? A little bit, but I'd still say no. Now on to Emre, the new hit scan DPS last season. I gotta admit, he's a little OP. At least now. First, he can ADS and has fairly high damage output. No complaints there, he's pretty balanced damage-wise. On release though, honestly he was pretty weak. His main damage output I found was his nades, and I had multiple people saying his gun felt weak. They did eventually buff it, and I think it's good where it sits on his grenades. They have a fairly short radius and deal good damage. They reward skill, so I support it. OP, maybe a little bit in the right hands, but in the average person's, no. Now onto his Siphon Blaster. This is where I'd say he's a little OP. He can sustain himself in a 1v1 with a Roadhog. However, it has a fairly long cooldown and he's pretty slow without it, so as long as you bait it, it's no better than any long cooldown abilities like Soldier's Healing Pad and Anna's Sleep. So is it OP? I'd say a little bit, but not really that bad if you know how to fight it. So is Emre overpowered? Not that badly. A little overtuned here and there, but he's fine. Alright, well, on to Anran. This one got a lot of complaints, and for a valid reason, I feel. So, Anran uses her primary and dash to light targets on fire, then she uses her right click to crit them, similar to Mauga's guns. This can be extremely good against tanks, but honestly as a tank main, all you gotta do is turn around and flick them away like a bug, as they are extremely squishy. However, she has one move that's debatable, her Dancing Blaze. This move makes her and damages nearby enemies, along with also igniting them halfway, healing for 50, then 25 for subsequent attacks. This is OP, similar to Mei's Ice Block. I think any move that makes someone let alone heal is OP. But then again, once you learn the timings, these abilities are just free kills. Wait till it's about to run out and hook with Hog. You just got yourself a free roast chicken. The same with Mei. However, I still do think that these are OP as they are hard to deal with for the average player. Other than that, paired with Mauga on a good team, she can be devastating, but that's kind of rare, and same with her and Ashe. But in the end, I'd say she is indeed not that OP. Maybe, again, a little overtuned with her Dancing Blaze, but that's about it. Now, what about Mizuki? He's just not OP. I don't really think I gotta talk about this one. His Hinder is extremely annoying, but again, it's in the same vein as the Siphon Blaster. It's avoidable. His hats are underpowered, if anything. His damage is fairly solid. His AoE healing is similar to Brig, and his shift is pretty neat. Overall, he's fairly balanced, I'd say. No complaints here. Now, the one people still, to this day, complain about and still ban in ranked. Jetpack Cat. She is OP, or at least she was. With all the nerfs she's gotten, I don't know if I'd class her as OP anymore. Her Claws Out perk was broken as a minor, but it got moved to major. Infinite Flight is annoying, but a good soldier, or especially the new Sierra with a clean tracking shot, can pretty easily take her out. Her grab is pretty neat for slower tanks, her healing output is solid, her damage is maybe a little too high, but fairly solid, and her self-healing / AoE, again, can be a little annoying, but it's fine. The only thing that I'd say is still a little OP is her ult. Basically securing a free tank kill and sometimes even a team fight win on any map with void holes like Ilias or Lijiang Tower. However, it's pretty janky to aim, it grabs the wrong people a lot of the times, has inconsistencies on where it's grabbing, it hits walls a lot and can get cancelled very easily and can be negated by any hinder out there. So I'd say it's a little bit busted, but an easy counter pick. Is Jetpack Cat OP? On release, I'd say yeah, but now with all of the nerfs, no, not really. You may use that as an argument to say that new characters are usually OP. Jetpack Cat was one of 5 that were actually OP. The reason they were OP is mostly because people didn't know how to deal with them. Once people found out how to deal with them, I haven't had an issue with a Jetpack Cat since release because all I've had to do is switch to Hog, hook them out of the air and one-shot them, and then they're dead. Whereas DPS, go Ashe, Soldier, Widowmaker, any hit scan, snipe them out of the air and they're gone. One thing that I might change with them, like if I were to change something about them, would be it not stun people around the ult. But even then, that might make it too weak, because then say a Cass is right beside the tank who's being grabbed, he can just hinder and boom, he's out. I don't think they're OP. I also think they are kind of hard to balance just because the design choice of the character is a bit odd. Anyways, on to the last but not least, Vendetta. She was broken. Like, extremely. Even up until a nerf this season, she was OP. Her having 100 armor made it impossible to one-shot her with a Roadhog. Along with that, she had a block, a spin, a very far dash ability, meaning securing a kill on her was pretty dang tough. Along with that, her onslaught ability can allow her to melt tanks if she gets a combo going. I wish I could say a similar thing that I did for Anran, but she can just leave once you turn around or even continue the 1v1 and win against a tank. However, she did have some flaws and still does. Her being melee means Junker Queen and Hog shred her. Doesn't get one shot by Hog if you lower her then hook. She's a free kill. And Junker Queen can just pull her back with her knife. So is she OP? Not really. While she was definitely annoying and hopefully the armor reduction helps with that, she wasn't really overpowered, but she definitely was extremely hard to deal with if you didn't have shotgun or tank on your team. So while I wouldn't say she was OP in the normal sense, she definitely was in a similar way to Anran, where it's hard to deal with her and a lot of people complain because she can be very good. With this, she also has a very low skill floor, meaning that people can pick her up and do good with her very quickly. That is where I think most of the issues came from, is that lower ranks could do good with her and bad people could play her well, which meant to bad people, she seemed really, really broken, which is why you majority of the time heard lower ranks complaining about her, but you still heard high ranks complaining about her. Why is that? That's because her skill ceiling is also fairly high. Being able to get into a fight, get a pick, and then dive out is fairly hard even with her. She's just the best at doing it because she's the hardest to kill. So while she wasn't OP, she was definitely meta at the time. But if none of these were OP, then why do so many people say they were? Well, again, fighting new things is hard. Not knowing to bait Emery's pistol makes it OP. Not knowing to shotgun Vendetta or punish her for diving makes her OP. Not knowing to hide behind a wall when you're tracked makes it OP. Same thing goes for Zen. If you're behind a wall, obviously you're not going to be discorded. But if you're standing out in the open and getting shot, you might think it's OP when it's just simply a skill issue. And with time, all of these characters have had their counters found and ways to defeat them discovered. As a good example of this, say they release Soldier today. Having to deal with someone who can beam you from anywhere and then self-heal? And his ultimate is literally just aimbot? That sounds overpowered, right? However, we don't see it that way now. You hear Visor, you hide. You see Soldier, you kill him before he can heal, or in some cases, wait out his heal. Imagine if Anna was released today. What the hell? She can just sleep anyone and run away? She can prevent healing. Her sniper does damage over time and can crit with a major perk. She's overpowered, right? But no, we know now to bait her sleep, back up when antied, and avoid sniper angles. So while it may seem like a new hero is OP, give it time and you'll see that all it really was a skill issue. And with that, I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to check out the links in the description. Special thank you to Marbet and Araya for the tier 3 subs over on Twitch. And I will see you all in the next one.